Ooh, the most above average podcast in the galaxy.
Turn the light off, like your memory
Before we start today's podcast, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you. The most above average podcast in the galaxy is not sponsored by anyone. Everything that you see and hear is paid for directly by us. We do, however, have affiliate links, and the money that comes in from those affiliates does help pay for us to have more hosting platforms, better equipment so you can hear us better, so you can see us better. The money that comes in from that is just icing on the cake. We do this out of the pure love of just chit-chatting with each other and bringing on guests. If you would like for the show to continue, we ask you to support the ones that support us. Again, all the links are in the bio. And thank you, and we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the most above average podcast in the galaxy. As always, I am joined by my lovely bearded co-host Josh, who apparently is in Antarctica right now. I don't think I've ever seen you wear a sweater in the 15 years I've known you. What's going on?
Listen, we don't use the AC or heat here, okay? So it's a little cold right now. I had to put one on.
Okay, I feel that. I wore a sweatshirt because I felt like I was being objectified like a piece of meat from both the female audience as well as all the gay Brazilians that watch this show. So, I try to be respectful.
Brazilian audience.
Yes, we are very large down under. Giggity.
If I knew Portuguese, I would say something right now, but
I speak Portuguese. I will tell you. You say, "Eu falo português." It means I speak Portuguese. There you go. That was your lesson. Good day, folks. But today, I, as well as Josh, am joined by my very good friend, Jared Thompson, who is an Olympian bodybuilder. Unfortunately, he does not have a great beard. I think we can change that, hopefully soon. But, we'll give him a pass. He's a great bodybuilder. We'll give him a pass. I like to refer to you as the White Ronnie. Not because, well, let me explain why. When I met... use the bald Ronnie now, homie. When I met you, we were out there in Mississippi, and I remember thinking, holy shit, that is a giant white dude. And as we became friends, and you told me how you ate, I couldn't believe it. Because most people think that pro bodybuilders generally eat a horrendous amount of food. And when you told me what you ate, I giggled. Because I was like, there's no way this dude can be this big with eating like a bird. And you're like, no, that's what I eat. And I told my wife, and I was like, you're not going to fucking believe this. And so, but it was true. You, at that time, for being a very lean 215 pounds, a lean 200-pound dude is a big dude. But anything over that, pretty impressive. And to be that level of muscularity with the density that you have, kudos, man, because that's a very amazing thing that you've been able to accomplish. But I definitely want to dig into, your training style and things like that. But given this very long, awkward introduction, welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am well rested. The day's rest day from the gym, so I'm just kind of chilling today. So
very nice. I had leg day, and I already thought about it as I sat down. I was like, when the podcast is over, I'm going to be stuck in this position for at least an hour because I killed it today. So, Lord help me. Probably, I might even DoorDash some food. I don't think I can cook after this.
you could just do it and cook. You could just get up and do it.
Yeah, I could. I think my goal right now is to accumulate enough financial wealth to have a professional chef on hand.
That sounds wonderful.
Right?
Yes.
Because some days you're like, okay, I had a good workout. I know I need to eat, a protein-based meal. and you go to the kitchen and you're like, great, I'm going to cook some of this chicken. I'm going to have some rice. And then you end up making a grilled cheese. And I'm like, fuck. Gets you every time. I don't know. I feel like that problem would go away if I just made more money and had a chef.
It would. That way, they just cook it, you put it in front of you, and you have no other option but to partake.
I think that should be all three of our goals now. Is we need to accumulate more financial wealth and hire a chef.
Or, oh, yeah, I was about to say we could like all be roomies and have one shelf and pitch in, and
More cost effective.
but yeah, try to save a buck where you can.
Here's the problem with this. You got three very large gentlemen on high protein diets. I'm gonna tell you right now, that house does not have enough bathrooms.
That's true. Very true.
All jokes aside, you've been a great friend. You're an incredible bodybuilder. There's no doubt about it. Give us a background. When did the journey into bodybuilding start? Were you always an athlete, or was that something that just came later?
Yeah, so I started lifting weights at 10 years old. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather, he was an All-American nose guard back in the day. And so like that was kind of my original dream, was to like follow in his footsteps. And so he really didn't give me a choice. So at 10 years old for Pee Wee football, he was like, you got to get bigger, you got to get stronger, you got to get faster, you're going to start lifting weights. And I was just like, all right. So got me this weight set, like the full on weight bench and leg extension, leg curl. And so I started doing that at 10 years old. And then it just kind of progressed from there. I played football all throughout school, did powerlifting. Once I got to about like 13, 14, I started learning what a split was and not just kind of going in there and throwing stuff around. And then football didn't really work out past high school. And so I started uh, at my local junior college. There is a gym, like a bodybuilder style hardcore gym, right outside of town where the local junior college was. And I started lifting there when I was like 18 years old. And the owner, keep in mind, this was like 2012, 2013. And the owner came up to me and was like, hey, you should try men's physique. And of course, me being 18 years old, I was like, what is that? And so she started telling me, introduced me to her coach. It was a she. Introduced me to her coaches, who are Timmy and Judy Gillard, who put on the Tupelo show, the Tupelo Pro. And then I did my first show at 19 in men's physique, won my class, and then it just kind of snowball effect from there. I turned pro in 2015 at Junior Nationals at 21 years old. And then I just kind of competed off and on throughout in the pro league. And finally, I started getting like really heavy back into it in 2019. I ended the year at the Kentucky Muscle. I placed fourth, and then I was prepping for the Puerto Rico Pro in 2020, and then COVID happened, and it kind of threw everything off, as it did for everybody. And so then during this time, I was like a full-time personal trainer and coach. I did that for 6 years. And so that kind of aided in the bodybuilding lifestyle because I made my own schedule, worked when I want to, worked out pretty well. Well, COVID hit, shut the gyms down for 7 weeks, lost like 80% of my clients because of COVID. And so then I chose a different career path, got in law enforcement, became the police. And I never really thought about getting back into competing because I didn't think I could do both. Because, I worked 12-hour shifts. We did a month of day shift, a month of night shift, and it just went back and forth. And that's how we did it. And I just didn't physically think I could do it. And then I had a buddy of mine who also coached and was also an IFBB pro. He kept like, he kept on me, was like, dude, you need to get back on stage. You need to do classic. You'll do well. Let me coach you. And finally, I just agreed to like shut him up. And so in 2022 at the Atlanta Pro, haven't been on stage in like over 3 years. And I did the Atlanta Pro in 2022 and got third out of nowhere. Went in that show like not expecting anything, just happy to be back up there and doing my thing. And I placed third. And so I was like, oh crap, like we might could do something here. And then the very next year in 2023, won the Tupelo Pro, went to the Olympia, did that. So that's probably the biggest, quickest synopsis I could give you. Far as right now, I took my critique from the Olympia has been basically the same critique that I've gotten since I've started competing. Like, oh, you're super lean, you got good shape, we just want you bigger. I'm like, okay, that's what you said 25 pounds ago. Uh, literally. Uh, but anyway, so I took 2024 off, tried to grow. I did a guest posing appearance in New Orleans back in November. And then now I just started prep for the Tampa Pro is the first show I have lined up for the year. So we'll see how that goes.
Tampa Pro, that's a fun show. Um, that was a great overview, but I love how you completely just glazed over the fact that you're like, I went to the Olympia, like it was no big deal. So hang on, because I want to go back because bodybuilding is such an interesting thing where people call it a sport. And I always say, nay, that it's bodybuilding is not a sport, because with the sport, like if you were a professional soccer player and you just didn't feel like doing it that day, you just didn't do it, but you were still a soccer player. You can't take a break from bodybuilding. You can't just be like, oh, I'm mid prep and I don't want to do this shit today and go eat some cereal. It doesn't work that way. It's a lifestyle. It's 100%. And you throw in the competitive things here and there for sure. But every day you're eating eggs, eating chicken, eating steak, whatever you got going on, and you're busting your ass in the gym. When you turned pro, what was that emotional standpoint like? Okay, like I've achieved this, I got my piece of paper that says I'm now a professional. Is that a, oh yes, I've made it, or are you hungry instantly, like what's next?
I was instantly hungry. So it was going back to the whole football thing. It was like a lifelong dream of mine to be a professional athlete, like get in the league, go to the NFL. I mean, that was like a lifelong dream. And so that, and like throughout my entire childhood, high school years, like that is, I lived, eat, and slept football. Like when other kids were just like kind of goofing around, I was at the field like running drills and stuff, trying to get faster, trying to get better. Um, so when I finally won my pro card, it was at first it was kind of strange because like I had done 3 consecutive national level shows up before junior nationals, and I did fairly well in all 3. Cracked top 5, including Miami Nationals in 2014, where I got 4th there out of 42. And so I had a feeling like, okay, I did this, like it's coming, like my day's coming. And then when I got to junior nationals, I had a completely different physique that I had presented before. And when I got there, I just kind of, in the back of my head, I just kind of knew like this was my day. This was my day. When they called me for first call outs and moved me to the center and just kept me there, I was like, this is it. And so when I won my class, uh, at first it was like, it was pretty, I mean, it's pretty overwhelming at first. You're like, oh man, I'm a professional now. Like I'm a professional athlete now. So, but literally like I slept on it. And then the very next day I'm like, all right, what are we going to do next? You know, Ha- if, if I can, if I can turn pro in just 2.5 years of competing, now given the fact that men's physique back then was still a relatively new division and it was much smaller far as like muscularity goes than it is now. Still, I was like, if I can turn pro in this amount of time and I can achieve this, then I can make the Olympia. And so from the very next day after I turned pro, like my dream was to eventually make the Olympia. And I genuinely thought I could do it. Now it took me 9 years to to finally do it, but I did it. And I guess piggybacking off of that experience, that feeling I got when I turned pro, there was nothing there was nothing like it. I hadn't experienced anything like it until I won my first pro show and I qualified for the Olympia. There was no winning your first pro win is definitely, and I think a lot of athletes that have achieved that will tell you it is much better and it is much sweeter than winning your pro card, because now when you have that first pro win under you, you're at like a new caliber. You are part of the elite now. You're going to the Olympia. You're now considered the best in the world. And so doing that, and once I competed at the Olympia, after I got done with that, like it was still the same thing. Like my lifelong dream became true. I'd finally made the Olympia, and I stood up there with all the best athletes. And but then the very next day I was like, well, if I can make the Olympia, I can make top 15. If I can do this, I can make top 10, you know? So it's just a never ongoing process of constantly being hungry. And I think that's where you get that that smaller percent of athletes of just not being hungry and not being satisfied. And in the end, that's kind of like what bodybuilding is. You set a goal for yourself, like a personal goal, like physique wise, like, okay, I want to be 190 pounds lean. You get there and now you're like, okay, well, I want to be 200 pounds lean. It's just a never ending thing.
Yeah, bodybuilding's kind of neat like that, where in it, if you're hungry, you will always find something to chase. There's
Uh-huh.
always something to be done. There's always something to work on. There's another show that you haven't won yet, and things like that. And it's fun. And you can really see it, especially at the elite level like that. Hungry athletes will outwork the genetically gifted every day of the week. But when you find someone who's genetically gifted and hungry, that's the dangerous combo. So I wanted to touch base on, your body has gone through crazy transformations. You started in men's physique, you've built your way up into classic. Aside from just, clothes not fitting the same, what kind of other life changes had to go in with stuff like that? Like, you talked about knowing what a training split is. Did you go through different variations and find something that you liked, or it's like, hey, this one works really well for me, I really like a push pull leg split, or hey, I'm really enjoying these bro splits where every body part gets its own day? What did you start with, coming out of that college time frame, and then moving your way up?
So when I first started competing, I guess as far as like training goes, I may have like started out a little backwards. Um, because for probably the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 years I was competing, I would superset everything. And I would end up doing 8, 10 exercises, but I would superset everything and do like 4 sets of like 15 each exercise, and then I'd superset and go do something else for another set of 15. And so that's how I trained for probably the first 2 or 3 years. And then I got with the coach that turned me pro, and he was like, dude, you're doing way too much. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. He's like, he's like, overtraining is a thing, and you were doing it. I'm like, so what do I need to do? And so like he gave me his little training protocol or whatever, and I was like, this ain't enough. Like I don't I, like I don't feel like I'm doing enough. He's like, I'm telling you, it's fine. He's like, just do it. I'm like, okay. And so now, and so I did. I mean, basically that was pretty much like 12 total sets of like one big body part and 9 total sets of like a smaller body part, like biceps or something. And so I adopted that for the next several years. And then I got with my really good friend who got me to the Olympia. Uh, he kind of just added just a wee little bit more to that, and so that's kind of what I've adopted and still currently doing.
So for the most part, your style of training would be, a large body part, and then you sprinkle in some accessory stuff around it, like you pick a back day and add biceps, things like that.
Yeah, correct. So like have a back day, 12 total sets of back, and then like 9 sets of biceps. I did basically that for a very long time. Then it eventually worked its way up to like 15, 16 total sets of back, but I would still only do like 9 sets of biceps. So like, I guess over time, the volume of the bigger muscles increased, but the smaller muscles, kind of roughly stayed the same because they're still getting like indirectly worked when you're doing pulling or pushing or anything like that.
They're still getting love, just little bit different.
Correct.
Yeah. You get the difference between the love and then tissue trauma. And the way that I do my own workouts, and a majority of my athletes, is I like doing a traditional bro split where every body part gets its own day of love. But I say it gets its own day of love, but realistically, it's full blown trauma. Like at the end of every workout, you should be drenched in sweat, even in the winter, contemplating all your life choices, wondering, oh God, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
fun. So when I flew out there, well, hang on, I'll backtrack. So every time we do one of these episodes, I'm always like, oh, this is my friends. And I truly think that I have friends everywhere, which is a really cool thing. But I will be the first, you don't know this. The first time that I ever talked to you, I reached out on social media because when I was picking out shows for Michael Lopez, I was looking at the schedule, looking at different shows, trying to find something because his pro debut was at Legion. And it was basically, aside from 2 people from the Olympia, it was an Olympia lineup. And it was a wild lineup to be there for. And so I wanted to find different shows that didn't have the same competitors. It wasn't that I wanted, any less of a caliber athlete. I just wanted different athletes to go against because I knew we were going to get the same placing. And so I looked at the schedule and I was like, where the fuck is Tupelo? And so I was like, all right,
Yeah.
let me see some pictures. And I was like, damn, that's a big white guy. So I found you on social media and I messaged you and I was like, hey man, are you doing the show this year? And you were like, no, my brother's getting married. And I was like, haha, Golden, we're doing the show. So, but you've become a good friend and I really enjoy our friendship and we have fun, candid conversations, especially silly ones that don't belong on the podcast. But
Yes.
when I went out there to Mississippi, I don't know how you do it, man. That humidity is so brutal. We got out there and we're at the La Quinta Inn because that was the nice hotel there. And 5:00 in the morning, the car is sweating. The humidity is so crazy. The car was like, bro, get me out of here. So we go over to that gym, the Mecca gym, And there's this incredible picture of you on the wall. And I remember walking and seeing it and being like, magazines aren't really a thing anymore. But when I was getting into bodybuilding and I was like, I want to be on the cover of a magazine. That was always my dream. I was like, I want to have the big contract. I want to be the pro. I want to be on the magazine. Like, that will be my claim to fame. Like, yes, I made it. But I saw the way that that community over there in Mississippi was, and how much they just truly love each other in that area, and they're so supporting. That gym was incredible. And to have that picture there without knowing you then, I was like, this is such a cool thing. Like, that level of respect and support that they gave. And because it wasn't just you on the wall, there was other athletes too, but your picture was way cooler.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just thought that was like, what a great thing. And I just, out here on the West Coast, it's so far and few between that you see gyms that, I mean, shit, we've got gyms right down the road from both Josh and I that have pro bodybuilders at them, and you'd never know. And I think that's a shame, because I remember the unwritten rule was back in the day that pros don't pay for a gym membership. And I remember being at my biggest, I was 22 years old. I was 274 pounds with good abs. I was a monster. And I walked into a gym and I was like, hey man, I need a day pass. And he was like, what do you mean a day pass? Like, just go work out. And I remember holding my wallet being like, don't you need my money? And he goes, no, we need people like you to motivate the other people. It's like, I've made it. Free gym memberships? Oh, this being huge thing is cashing in now, baby. Now that you have, you're established, people know who you are. Do you get different treatments now? Are people like, oh my God, there's the bodybuilder, there's Jared, are you reaping in the benefits from that now? So socially anyway.
Uh, yes and no. I try to stay very low key, because I don't like to draw that kind of attention to myself. Mainly because, we see all these guys and all these women, like in the bodybuilding world, like all like the top ones, and like they're just people, you know. And when I went to my first Olympia as like a spectator back in like 2014, I met so many of these like big name people, and I'm a small town Mississippi dude. Like, I graduated with the class of 72, like very small town. And like when I went to my first Olympia to just like go watch and stuff, I met all these big name people, and I was like, they're just people just like me, you know? And so we automatic, I guess, as like human beings, we automatically put people like that we see like on a pedestal almost. And like, I don't want to present myself like that, because I'm just a dude. I'm just a bro. Like, I like to lift heavy things. I've just done it for a real long time, and I like to play video games. Like, I'm just a dude. And but being in Tupelo, yeah, people, I can't go anywhere with people like calling my name, or um with me not knowing who they are, but they know who I am. But I was also a police officer there for 4 years as well. And so everybody knew me. Everybody knew, like, that's the bodybuilder cop, you know? Um, so yeah, I probably got more, here down here in the South, especially Tupelo. We love law enforcement, and they're very good at like backing police officers. And so I probably got more, I don't know, of like a benefit just from putting on the uniform than being a professional bodybuilder. Uh, because bodybuilding here in Mississippi, I guess as a whole, really isn't that big. Now, fitness is big, but far as the sport of bodybuilding, it's not that big. Like, I could probably go up to someone in the gym and start talking about Chris Bumstead, and they have no idea who I'm talking about, you know? Um, So I probably got more, I don't know, social benefits from being a police officer than a bodybuilder, I would say.
That's crazy that you say that bodybuilding's not that big there, because I told everybody when I got back from the Tupelo Pro, the venue that those people put that event on is so awesome. I'm like,
Oh yeah. Now,
every show should be this.
now Timmy and Judy Gillard, the couple that puts on the Tupelo Pro, they are they are some of the biggest ambassadors of the sport you will meet. Um, and like
They're the nicest people. They
and
they
they
were they were so great.
and they work so hard to promote it here in Mississippi across the state. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's just the area, really. Not only is Mississippi, I guess labeled like the poorest state in the union, but it's also labeled the most obese state in the union. And so people would rather go uh, eat McDonald's than prep their own meals, as a general public, not saying that everybody's like that, but probably as a whole, people would rather go out to eat or go to McDonald's or get something fast and easy than prep a nice, healthy meal at home. And I kind of think that's where it starts is people don't want to put in the the work behind the curtain in order to do what bodybuilders do as far as actually competing goes.
With you said fitness was big over there. I stayed kind of like in that main downtown area while we were there, and obviously got lost a little bit and then drove through some back roads. But is there other things going on? Do they have CrossFit? Do they have, stuff like
Yeah,
that?
CrossFit's actually pretty big here in Mississippi. You can't go to even a small town, without there being a CrossFit gym there. So CrossFit's pretty big. I would say over the past 5 years or so, powerlifting has kind of grown to be more popular here in Mississippi as well. Um, I mean, people like fitness, like they like going to the gym and working
Sure.
out and stuff. But far as like actually getting on stage and like competing and stuff, I tend to think that it's more of them being a little bit timid, you know, of the sport of bodybuilding.
Sure. I I have this conversation with my pros. I have this conversation with my first time competitors, and I tell them the exact same thing. Even the big boys get stage fright. But
Oh yeah,
at the end of the day, you have to remember how many people say that they want to do this versus how many people actually do it. And then you took it a step further and you stood on stage. No matter what happens, no one can take that away from you,
right.
because right now, this is the best you've ever looked. So enjoy that moment on stage and remember that you were brave enough to get up there and be vulnerable for that.
Yeah.
Because anyone can just work out and be like, "Hey, here's a picture of my butt on the internet." But, it's way different to not wear deodorant for 2 days, put on a fake tan, and then go have someone spray you with some shiny stuff.
Yeah. And like going back to, you talking about the Mississippi Mecca and how they're so accepting and, how they just promote everybody. Shout out to Chelsea Stacks. She's the owner. She's got a wonderful thing going there. And she doesn't do that just for her competitors, but like powerlifters or any one of her members that has like something going on. She's all about promoting you, um, helping you get to where you need to be. And you do find that in like, I mean, I would say you would consider the Mississippi Mecca like a more of a bodybuilder style gym.
Yeah.
And when you do find those types of gyms in your smaller towns here in Mississippi, like you will get that generally. It's very community driven, whether you're in powerlifting or bodybuilding or just, your everyday fitness, like we're all in this together trying to get better. And that's something the Mississippi Mecca is really good about, is that, we're all here together. We're all here to get better. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
That sense of community is such a nice thing, and I feel that it's such a shame that more places don't have it. Like, I grew up right outside of San Francisco, and
Mm.
before the tech boom hit, and it was just kind of like an artsy fartsy place, and it wasn't filled with all like the disgusting stuff that it has now. It had its own community. And, you had the different little areas, and they had, you got the Sunsets District, you got your financial district, you've got all these different little areas, but everyone looked out for each other. And even, the smaller surrounding towns, you had that sense of community. People want to have nice things where they are, so they want to help take care of it. They want to help the other person, just like a good coach. A good coach wants all of its people to thrive, and just, how that is with community. And as as I've left San Francisco and I've moved to a couple of different places, I've noticed that it's become harder and harder to find community. You've got, my normal house that I'm in right now, and then I have a house in Tahoe as well. And the house in Tahoe, for sure as shit, does not have any kind of community. It's filled with people that have more money than brains. They're just rude assholes. But don't get me wrong, I love my Tahoe house. It's really nice, but it's just filled with idiots. With having that kind of community that you have there, and everyone being so supportive, and obviously you got family out there, do you have any aspirations on leaving, or you're good there, Mississippi, that's your home?
I don't know. Um, I've tried to leave home a couple of times, and I've always end up coming back
Yeah.
somehow or another. May not necessarily be Tupelo, but as far as like Mississippi in general, I always end up finding myself back here. It's home, you know, and I'm a homebody. And so now, would it be more beneficial to my career if I moved, somewhere bigger? Yes, but there's more to life than something like that. You can't you can't take away that feeling home gives you. You can always leave home, but home will always be there. And so just knowing that makes me not want to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with the beauty with the internet and the YouTube and all these other different ways to reach and develop an audience and a community. Speaking of community, if you go back and listen to an episode that Josh and I just did with one of our streamer friends, talks about the importance of building a community with his online presence, and that was fascinating. That was an incredible listen. I'll send you the link. Go back and listen. It's pretty neat. But look at people like Sam Solik. Sam Solik, what does he need? He needed his phone and a tripod, and look at the audience that he was able to develop with, not being in a major area, not, having any major contracts or anything like that. This guy makes more money than all three of us combined from an iPhone.
And he did it just by recording himself of him being him.
Yeah.
And that,
He just turned on a camera for stuff that he was already gonna do.
uh-huh.
Incredible. Incredible. And I truly think this is not like a fluff piece. You have such a likable personality, and you're a good looking guy. You post, you haven't done it in a little while, but you've posted like some old modeling pictures. Like, you've got a great look that's very marketable. So I don't think that you really you don't need to be in a place like Vegas. You don't need to be in a place like New York or something like that, unless you really wanted to. But as far as like for business representation, like, no, like, you're killing it where you are. Just let
Thanks,
more
man.
people know who you are. And I think that's my hope with doing stuff like this is we have fun guests on, and it's just another way of helping educate people, but to get more people to know who other people are. Like, I know you, and I know all the great things that you offer. So we just want more people to know stuff like that. Everybody already knows who I am. Everybody knows I'm awesome, but I need more people to know about you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So you talked about video games. This is going to be this is a friendship test.
Uh-huh.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
This podcast is over.
No,
Well,
you're
here's the
outnumbered,
thing.
buddy.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
PlayStation.
No.
So I was Team Xbox for a very long time. Okay. Like when the Xbox One came out, the last generation,
Yeah.
like I had the day one edition. Like I went to GameStop at midnight and like I was because like, you know, Microsoft, like America, like I'm gonna support America, you know? Um and then and then the newer generations of consoles came out and like the PS5 was just a better machine. Not only was it a better machine, but Xbox was not making any good originals anymore. And PlayStation was still putting out good original games for PlayStation only. And so that's the reason why I made the switch.
I have friends like my brother-in-law plays on a PlayStation, and we can still play Call of Duty together, which is fine. And then whenever he dies, I just blame it on his PlayStation.
Oh, and
So
yeah, I've been a gamer like all my life. Like so ever since I was physically mentally able to hold a controller at 3 or 4 years old, I've had some type of gaming system. And so that's kind of like my pastime or whatever.
do you utilize it while you're doing cardio?
No, because I usually just use a treadmill. So I I'm not that coordinated. I can't walk on a treadmill and like press buttons. Uh, so and I really don't have to you do a lot of cardio. So that's one that's one positive about being a hard gainer because I don't really have to do just a whole lot. Uh, but yeah, I couldn't hold a controller and play Call of Duty while walking on a treadmill. That sounds dangerous, actually.
It does sound very dangerous.
I have a friend. Yeah, well, I have a friend, Nico, and he does that. And he has a walking pad, so there's no handle or anything like that. And I can hear him breathing heavy in the microphone. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm getting my steps in." I'm like, "Aren't you gonna fall
shit.
off the thing?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good."
That's funny.
Man, if he can do that, you know, killing two birds with one stone, props to him. I sure
Yeah,
couldn't
man,
do
more
it.
power to you. I can't do that. I know for a fact. I'll get excited, and I'm like, "Okay, I got to run and hide over here," and I'll run off the treadmill.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
cardio, then games.
yep,
Yeah.
yes.
So in regards
So-
to your kind of evolution in your training over time from, when you started to Olympia stage, I know with powerlifting, you reach a certain point and you're excited about, 2.5 pound added, 3 pounds added. Within bodybuilding, have you ran into, not necessarily plateaus, but challenges, changing that physique to that level of competition over the time, that you've been doing it?
Oh yeah, so I consider myself a fairly hard gainer. Like it's really hard for me to put on the necessary weight in an off season in order to make you know, more lean tissue or faster lean tissue gains. And so that has always been um a challenge for me. Prep is usually not that bad. I mean, I've had harder preps. Um but over time, if I've put on more muscle, metabolism has increased because of putting on more muscle. My preps have gotten a lot easier. You know, when I turned pro at Junior Nats, I was 173 pounds. And so fast forward to 8 years, yes, 8 years later at the Olympia stage, I was 197 pounds. But my prep for Junior Nats was so much harder than my prep for the Olympia. Like, I mean, it was night and day. I mean, I was having days where I'd wake up and I didn't know how I was gonna make it through the day because I was so fatigued all the time. But to answer your question, yes, and it usually for me, it usually comes with like gaining weight, as far as putting on muscle, and like in the off season when you're putting on a little bit more extra fat, you're always like contemplating with yourself, like, am I actually growing muscle or am I just getting fatter? And so that's usually uh the biggest struggle I've had as far as like the evolution of the physique throughout the years is just putting on lean tissue.
And I want to add to that. I don't think that you're nearly as much of a hard gainer as you think you are. Because I remember a conversation that we had, and you're like, I'm stuck at 215. I said, tell me what you're eating. And you sent me your little thing. And I said that you're having a Tom Prince moment. I remember this conversation very clearly. I said, you're having a Tom Prince moment, that you're eating too clean and that you don't have enough junk in it. And so I recommended that you had chorizo with breakfast.
Uh,
How well did that work?
I gained about 5 pounds
There
over
you
the next
go.
month. Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. Uh, Also, what also doesn't help in correlation to that, what doesn't really help me is I'm not a big eater. Like I don't really have that big of an appetite. Never have. My entire life, I've never had a big appetite. Like I will feel like I'm about to pass out from my blood sugar dropping before I get hungry. And so usually if I go like 6 hours without eating and like sometimes working, um, and like a law enforcement style job, if you're in a busy area like I was, sometimes you don't have a choice because things are just popping off and you're going from one call to the next call, and like sometimes you have no choice but to go 6 hours without eating. Then I'll start to get a little hungry. But usually 6 hours is like the window before I actually start feeling any type of hunger.
Now, was it always like that, or was that career induced, if you will?
Uh, it wasn't always like that. Uh, because I can remember back in like my earlier days of bodybuilding. I mean, I definitely got more hungry than I do now. Um, but also like the stress level was a lot lower as well.
I was just gonna get into
Yep.
that. It was like,
Yep.
now that you know, now that you're an adult, that being an adult sucks. Everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be great when you're an adult. No, it's bullshit. You got bills and responsibilities. Stay a kid forever. But now that you have, you got work stress, you got life stress, you got things going on in your brain that you didn't have when you were younger. That stress can really generate a big impact on your ability to get hungry. And then you start getting to that point where like that 6 hour mark, you're like, man, I'm getting kind of grumpy. Like, oh, I should probably eat. And you start just like
Uh-huh.
forcing yourself to eat.
Yeah.
That was always, I definitely never had an issue with an appetite. I was always hungry. I'm definitely not a hard gainer. but, but I always noticed that anything bodybuilding related wise never made me unbearable to be around. So like I could do aggressive preps and stuff like that. If I didn't get my food in time, that was the only thing that made me grumpy. But it was never like unbearable, like where I had just, like rage. I was like, this is bullshit. I was just like, man, I got to get some food.
Yeah. I am definitely guilty. Not all the time, but like in the past when my preps have been a lot harder and a lot more physically strenuous, and like I've definitely been a lot grumpier. Not from hunger, but just from feeling bad,
Yep.
physically feeling bad from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, just to do it all over again the next day. Yeah, I've gotten pretty grumpy before.
So Jared doesn't know this, but Josh is an incredible strength athlete, and he won't tell you how great he is. So I always do it for him. I'm like, you don't understand, like the level of strength that man possesses is not human. It's like he's able to turn gravity off. It's some of the craziest things you've ever seen. But I think that I had a little bit to do with this, maybe not a whole lot. I like to say that I did. He is progressing into bodybuilding, and he's doing a great job at it. His legs have really come up. He's got some great quads. He's got great structure, great delts, really good, rear lat spread. And so I think, hopefully in the near future, we can convince him to step on stage. That'll be fun.
I got too many tattoos, man. Too many tattoos.
No, you good. You good.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
Is your back covered? His
Not
back's
fully.
covered?
There's a big
They make
back,
solutions
there's a
for
back
that.
piece on it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I love
Oh, but your back
bodybuilding. I
ain't
think it's not fully covered. But yeah, I mean, I love the bodybuilding training. I do not eat like a bodybuilder. I am a fat ass. I eat whatever I want when I want. But I'm stuck at 230. So realistically, I'd like to be 250, but getting there
if
has
Dr.
been
Pepper
a
would
struggle.
figure out a way to make protein in their soda, Josh would start buying
Yeah.
stock in the company.
Oh, 100%.
protein pepper.
Yeah, it would be fun. I think
protein pepper. 20 grams of
dude,
protein.
I would buy
Could
it
you
in a
imagine
heartbeat.
whey protein in a Dr. Pepper?
That
Gross.
sounds very gross.
It
That does
does,
not
but I would probably
sound
try it.
appealing. But hey, I mean,
Oh yeah, you got to try it.
You got to try it.
You got to try it. I mean,
I'm
in the
opposed to
process
it.
of
Not
writing.
opposed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of writing my own book of life stories, and the book is called Too Much Hot Sauce. The book came from, you're doing something that's going to hurt you, but you do it anyway. Like eating too much hot sauce. You know it's going to burn the shit out of you, but you do it anyway. So you do bad things for good stories. I got a whole book full of them.
Oh, same.
So I think the protein in the soda would be one of those situations. You know it's going to be gross, but you're going to do it anyway.
It's like a bad smell. Like you got something that's been sitting in the refrigerator for months. It's molded. But when you get it out of the refrigerator, you're going to open it up and you're going to smell it. And you know it's going to smell bad. And in fact, if you're like me, you're going to smell it and you're going to be like, oh, that's so bad. Then you're going to be like, oh, that's still so bad. You're going to smell it 2 or 3 times before you throw it away.
I feel pretty attacked by this because I do that shit.
I do it too.
Okay, here's the worst one. You smell it, it's gross, you put it in the trash can, but you don't take the trash out of the house.
I don't do that one.
Well, if you have like the scented garbage bag, sometimes it covers it up. Sometimes it does that, but sometimes it doesn't.
It's lavender over mold. It's not good.
Moldy lavender. I mean, it's better than just mold.
That's like the Temu version of the Costco scented bags.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you've had a handful of coaches. What is there something that and even not just coaches, but just other figures in the gym that have given guidance along the way? Has there been something that someone told you that really gravitated, that just lives in your head rent free, that you're just like, wow, like that was so profound, like that's so good?
Yes. A couple people actually, as in exactly 2. So not the current Mississippi NPC chairman, but the one before last. She told me something one time, and I tell myself this all the time, and it's really hard because we as bodybuilders, we as competitors, I like to call it, we get in that competitive itch that turns into a hole that you just, it's like this bodybuilding mentality that you don't, doesn't matter the outcome. You're just going to keep pouring money into it, just to get yourself back on stage. She told me something one time that has always resonated with me. She said, Jared, bodybuilding is not your life. It is a part of your life. And we have a bad habit, I think, as competitors, that we turn bodybuilding into our life. Um, and there's so much more out there than competitive bodybuilding. So much more to life. But then again, like I also think to myself, I was like, because I want to be at the top, and I generally think in time I can do it. And so I always ask myself, do these top guys, is bodybuilding really their life, or is it a part of their life? And that's just something I've always wondered. Um, if you're like me, if you're single, no kids, then I think it's a little bit more acceptable. But if you have a family to take care of, I really don't think you can make bodybuilding your life, because you have other people depending on you. You know what I mean? Second time, um, it's not anything he necessarily said. Uh, so his name's Corey Becker. He's a very good friend of mine. He coached me for the past couple of years. He's the guy that got me to the Olympia, and he is the one that talked me into competing again. Because initially, once I became a cop, I'd like hung bodybuilding up. Like I wasn't gonna try it again. One, I didn't believe in myself. Two, I didn't think I could make it work doing the job and the lifestyle. And he somehow instilled a confidence in me that I did not have. And because he instilled that confidence in me, that if I want something, if we as people, if we want something bad enough, we will figure out a way to get it. And we will figure out a way to make it happen if we want it bad enough. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you don't want it bad enough, but if you want it bad enough, you will figure out a way. And he kind of instilled that in me, and that's kind of what helped me get to the Olympia, is that he was able to just simply put confidence in me that I didn't have.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean that kind of, it's not even motivation, just that inner belief that I'm capable. That's huge. That'll stay with you forever.
Uh-huh.
I
And
remember.
because of that, that's why now I'm like, okay, I made the Olympia. If I can make the Olympia, I can make top 10. You know, and so that confidence, that inner belief of making yourself capable is still there, and it's not gonna ever leave. You know.
I remember I used to do these things. I would call them motivational drives. I haven't talked about this in years. I used to do these things called motivational drives. And I would drive through these uber rich areas. And so there's one particular area called Atherton. It's right down the road from where I used to live. And it would consistently have homes between 15 and $30 million. Huge mega mansions with just money coming out the yin yang. And people would be so upset about it. They would be like, these people, they just have all this money. Like, you shouldn't penalize someone for having, successful, lifestyles. And so I would utilize it, and I called it motivational drive. And I would drive through and I'd look and I'd see the amazing homes. I'd see the amazing cars. And I would tell myself, look at this. It can be done because somebody already did it. So now I need to look at what they did and how can I do it better?
Yep.
And that's how I make all my approaches. When it comes to coaching, I don't ever let another coach dictate the way that I coach. I will hear what they did, why they did it, and then I will make an educated decision on if I like that and I want to follow that same approach, or maybe I understand what they're doing, but maybe they're missing something. How can I modify it? How can I make sure that my athlete is going to have the best result with it and stay healthy? Things like that. And so when people, that person's so lucky, you can be lucky too, because the person that you're wishing that you were them, it can be done. Find a way to do it, which piggybacks on exactly what you talked about. If you want it bad enough, you're going to figure out a way.
That's right.
Like, I really, really want a chicken bake from Costco, so I'm probably going to get in my car after this and go get one.
After you just said you're going to be stuck in that chair from leg day.
Well,
I'm
I have
motivated
now
now.
developed the motivation that I can stand up and I can do this.
I can make this chicken bake happen. I can make this protein infused Dr. Pepper happen.
No, that one's just not going to happen. That's just gross.
I mean, I
Hey,
have Dr. Pepper.
someone
I could
out
mix up
there
some protein
believes.
right now.
Okay, well, Josh is
I'll
going to
do it.
make
I'll
it, then
make
he's
a
going to
test
report
run, and
back
then
and tell us if it's good.
it's probably going to be
Actually,
shit, but
hang
it'll
on.
be worth it.
I think I might have a way that this could actually be enjoyable. You know those Ninja Creamy things where you make the protein ice cream? I feel like you could make a protein
Yeah.
ice cream Dr. Pepper float.
Pepper.
You could. You'd have to use vanilla, obviously.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be weird.
I mean, yeah, but I'm weird. I'm all about trying weird flavors. Like throw some caramel in that Dr. Pepper, see what you get
That's not weird. Caramel's delicious.
with Dr. Pepper though.
I mean,
I
caramel's
think it'd
good
be
on
pretty good.
anything.
Like caramel protein
Yeah.
powder.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
Okay. Well,
I don't think that's that weird. Maybe if you were like, hey man, I really want to have, oh my God, you know who's got weird flavors? Lay's potato chips. They had a garlic bread potato chip.
Not good, huh?
Nope. So I don't think vanilla or caramel, anything that's going to be like sugary, is going to be weird or out of the question. Probably if you were like, hey man, I really want like a ranch flavored protein, then we'd probably draw the line there.
yeah.
Hey man, like I love White People Wednesday on the internet, but fuck, that's too white for me.
Yeah, that's pretty out there. Ranch flavored protein. I like ranch.
You know,
However,
I guarantee you there's some guy listening right now in Louisiana. He'd be like, hell, I'd try that.
yeah, probably so. Probably so.
All right. So real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. I want to touch on a couple things. So I know that you've already picked your first show for the year. Do you have multiple shows already in the back of your head after Tampa?
Texas.
Okay. That's the RVG.
No, that's Texas.
Oh, you're doing Texas. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a fun show.
Yeah, I did it in 22 as well. And the galvanized production, like they put on an incredible show. They take really good care of their athletes too. And plus, like, I kind of want to stick to more top tier shows because that's where all the top Olympians are going to be competing at. And so,
Right. And you want to challenge yourself.
correct.
Do you? I know you and I briefly talked about this many moons ago. Is Tokyo Pro still on your mind, or that's not for this year?
Nah, not going to be going to Tokyo.
Next time.
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Next time.
Maybe
So-
next time.
I'll let Josh, because I know Josh likes to be very methodical with his questions. How would you like to wrap it up, Senor?
I mean, I was actually just thinking about it. It's funny you bring that up, because we kind of talked about, advice and whatnot. But first off, man, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure to meet you. Um, Definitely be watching your progress since I'm following you now on Instagram. So it'd be cool to see you evolve over this pro level sport. Be cool to watch all that, and I'll be looking forward to seeing it. Um, Normally, how I like to end this, or my question usually is life advice from a philosophical standpoint, um, like pretty much aimed at anything that you would, I don't know, give to the listeners to just motivate them a little bit in whatever bit of life they're
Yeah.
going through. Or
So it's generally uh what I tell most younger men, women, uh they don't even have to be getting into like bodybuilding. They could be getting into something totally different. So I come from a very small town, like a nowhere town in Mississippi. The type of town that uh you you don't really leave. You know, you graduate high school, you get married, you raise your kids there, that type of town. Like everybody that lives in the town I grew up in, uh, they're like 4 generations down of like, cause their families have just always stayed there. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from, where you come from, how you were raised, what kind of childhood you went through. It doesn't matter. You're in charge of your own decisions and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. You can go as far in life as you want to go. You are in control of your own path. And this is coming from someone who was a nobody, coming from a nobody town that just stood on the Olympia stage. And so it doesn't matter. You're in control. Uh, you don't use your past trauma as a crutch for not making a decision that's best for yourself. Don't use your past for anything negative. Use it to fuel your drive to make yourself better in whatever you're doing. It could be bodybuilding, it could be football, it could be going to med school, it could be pickleball. anything anything you want to do, you're in charge and you can go do it if you want to do it bad enough.
It was powerful. I really enjoyed that. I have a question for you, and then I will let you free, my friend. Josh thinks this question's stupid. I disagree. If you were going to a sandwich shop, not your personal favorite, what do you think the number one cheese is?
Wait, if I was going to
The number one cheese that is ordered on a sandwich,
like
based out of popularity.
I would probably say American
A lot of people say American.
American cheese. Because a lot of times and I like I like sandwiches, um, and so it never fails. A lot, not all the time, but most of the time, where the person making your sandwich, they're like, "What cheese?" And I'm always like, American." It's just the first. It's just I can't think of like cheese flavors, so I just tell them American, and so I feel like that's the most popular one.
What? Okay, fair enough. What is your go-to cheese if you were making your own sandwich?
It depends on the sandwich.
Oh, okay, okay.
okay.
Yeah, so if it's like a turkey club or like a chicken club, we're gonna go with American. But if it's something else besides those, I usually go with provolone.
Oh shit!
Provolone
Damn it.
reigns supreme.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our last guest was on my team, so
Josh thinks that pepper jack is the #1 cheese.
pepper jack is the shit.
Have you ever had like pepper jack cheese sticks?
What?
Yeah,
That
actually.
may like an appetizer, like cheese sticks. You know what I'm talking about?
Just like a little cube of cheese with a toothpick?
This maybe it's a southern thing. No, it's like a it's like a fried piece of cheese, but it's like a stick. But they fry it, and you get cheese, and like it's I guess it's a southern appetizer type thing, but it's
I have not had this. Josh, have you had this?
No, but it sounds amazing.
okay. Maybe it is a southern thing. Or Josh, are you on the West Coast as well? Okay, definitely a southern thing then. So yeah, cheese sticks, but people usually do like cheddar or like American cheese, but every now and then you can go into a restaurant and they'll have pepper jack cheese sticks where it's like deep
And
fried.
they're fried? They have breading on them?
Yeah. Yeah, they have breading and they're deep fried, but in the middle of the stick it's melted cheese. And it's usually like an appetizer. People
It
down here
sounds
get.
great. I've never seen this before, though.
Well, if you ever have another client, come do the Tupelo Pro. Just about every restaurant down here serves cheese sticks.
Okay. Okay. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a homebody, but I might have to travel for this shit. Especially there's a pepper jack one. Woo! Let's
Hey,
go.
man, maybe
Yeah.
you can do your bodybuilding debut out there in Tupelo.
Yeah, so there is a restaurant in Tupelo. It's called Harvey's, not Hardee's, Harvey's with a V. And they have pepper jack cheese sticks, and they are pretty dang good.
Okay.
Mm.
But yeah, you dip them.
All
They
right.
give you some ranch to dip them in. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Cheese sticks. All right. I'll add it to my list of things to look for. Well, cool. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking time to come and share your story and give some people some great motivation. For people that are trying to get a hold of you, how can they find you? Obviously, don't give them your address, but social media stuff. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm usually the worst about being like social media active, but I'm more active on Instagram than any other platform. So my IG handle is all lowercase JROD underscore IFBB underscore pro. So JRod underscore IFBB underscore pro.
Cool.
And I'm usually I don't get a lot of messages, but I'm good at responding.
Hey, man, after this episode, you might be getting all of them.
All of them. They're just
All
going to ask about cheese sticks,
You're
apparently.
like,
'cause-
hey, man, apparently we get a lot of gay Brazilian guys, so they might be asking for something else, too. So just be on the lookout.
Not that kind of cheese stick.
Real quick, last thing. I keep saying this because I'm a broken record. Do you have any aspirations on doing like a road to video series so people can see what you got going on training wise and food wise and a day in the life of?
I would love to do a Road 2 series. I just don't have the equipment or anything to do that with.
We just talked about this. Sam Sulek used a phone.
That is true. That is true. That is
And
true.
look at those Instagram quote unquote models with those get ready with me. It's literally just videos of them trying on clothes. You could do that too.
Yeah. I guess you're right. You're all right. But when I think about
You just told me that if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way.
You're right. You're right. But when I think about myself doing something like that, it like makes me laugh at myself.
But I think that would probably be part of, that's the lore with it is that's not the right word. Don't use that. That's my name. Pick a different word. That's the appeal to it is that it's silly and you're laughing during the duration of it. You're like, oh my God, I've got a camera on while I'm putting on pants.
True. And I could throw like my corny jokes in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
If you make yourself laugh, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
At least someone's laughing, and it's usually just me.
Yeah. And hey, I mean, like I told my wife will be like, I gave you a pity laugh. And I'm like, pity sex is still sex. Who's the winner now?
That's right. That's right. It still requires the same action.
Yep. Ha ha.
Ha ha.
Well, cool. All right, my friends. Well, I'll let you go get your cheese sticks. I'm gonna go figure out this chicken bake situation because now I'm
And
hungry.
yeah, thank y'all so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Do what you meant.
Thank you.
Later.